Welcome back to Shanghai, day 3, sprint race, won by Lewis Hamilton, Grand Prix qualifying topped by Oscar Piastri. Those are the two main headlines for the day. And we'll be talking about each of those topics as we go through. Also, Ronald, you've been talking to Max Verstappen and your good contacts at Red Bull once again. We'll be chatting about them because that's sort of been the secondary story of the day, what's going on with Red Bull, but also what's going wrong with its other car in Liam Lawson, and the RB drivers doing tremendously. Isaac Hadjar in 7th place, Yuki Tsunoda, of course, Red Bull reject, let's face it, in 9th and completely outshining Lawson. But won by Lewis Hamilton. What did you make of his performance? His first win for Ferrari, but still technically not, because it was only a sprint win, his first ever sprint win.
Yeah, but it's still amazing, you know, all the emotions, not only Lewis, but also the entire team. I'm sure you'll talk about it, but Lewis getting in the car earlier than he normally would do on the grid just to enjoy the view of being on pole position again. I thought that was a really nice story. But what impressed me the most was how Lewis was able to pull away towards the end of the race, because all of us, we were watching in the media center, and at the time Oscar got past Max, we thought, okay, now he will hunt down Lewis and now we will see the real pace of the McLaren car, especially we assumed they would be better on tyres. But then, yeah, it just looked like Lewis was waiting. And when Oscar got into P2, he was pulling away. So for me, that was the most impressive part. And also, Charles was really quick at the end of the race, so also really encouraging for tomorrow.
Absolutely. I think the Ferrari's starting down the order for the Grand Prix, but they could still be a big factor. But yeah, Lewis Hamilton, talking about that, I noticed a little bit of, I don't know, it struck me as slight, subtle digs, a bit of shade being thrown towards their former Mercedes squad by, I just enjoyed being back at the front. I wanted to soak it all in, being on pole position again, all of that. But yeah, angled pretty far towards Max Verstappen, got away off the line, chops him off. That Red Bull is just so good off the line. Even if Max doesn't get the best of starts, that second phase, he's always just shooting through. And Lewis saying that was one of the keys to his victory today. Effectively, it all comes down to tyres, as it so often does. Pirelli noting that at some teams, the wear on the medium tyre almost at 100%. So it was pretty tough out there, because 19 laps on a medium tyre, quite a long way. But the key actually was the first two or three turns, just even in the race, was if you pushed them really hard there. Yeah. Sure. Much later on, 19 laps later, you really were paying the price. So Lewis Hamilton got away with that, and then through the first phase of the race, just held back, managed his tyres, kept Verstappen sort of at DRS distance, able to absolutely nail it, took off. Saying afterwards, even though it is his first ever sprint victory, he didn't overly celebrate it, and probably wise to get carried away, because this is the problem with the sprint format. Yes, it's better than it was in 2022 because the drivers try throughout the sprint race, but it means that the better teams, or the teams with the better cars, can fix their problems. And we saw that with McLaren, with Oscar Piastri ending up on pole position. But that is obviously, like we said at the start, the other story of the day. What did you make of how good Oscar Piastri was today?
Yeah, I mean, his first ever Grand Prix pole position. So yeah, it was a long time coming already. So nice for him to get that one. But yeah, I think with McLaren still, that was positive. But still, two elements stuck with me. The first one, we've talked about it in a long time. Norris saying car difficult to drive. Again, today, it wasn't all easy for him. He called the sprint race a disaster. They made quite big changes to the car. So let's see what that will do in terms of tyre deck tomorrow. But also in terms of pure pace, I still expected a bit more from McLaren. We know that usually, or looking back at Australia, they should maybe be even a bit better on tyres compared to one lap. So rival teams also feel that they can get them over one lap. But still, I mean, the gap was not massive. And that's also what you feel in the paddock. If you talk to different teams, they say, well, the main positive from this weekend is McLaren is beatable. So yeah, great for Oscar, but still McLaren doesn't look that superior as they did in Australia.
I think it's going to swing from track to track. I think Andrea Stella saying their advantage comes when it's on the other axle. Here it's all about, particularly with this new track surface in China, it's all about the front left tyre. And when it comes to the rears, as we saw in Australia, that's where McLaren has a big advantage. So yeah, I think the car is still there. It's just not perfect for them. And the driver that's getting closest to performing to that perfect limit is Oscar Piastri. He's just so confident, it seems, even when all the drivers in terms of their second runs in Grand Prix qualifying Q3 weren't improving, and he just thought, well, I'm up anyway. Both his laps good enough for pole position. Chucked it at the hairpin, did the hairpin of his life, nicely over the curbs. Also gained a critical half a tenth at the final corner, and that got him further ahead of himself. Actually, George Russell, in terms of, if you compare the actual pole lap and George Russell's lap, Russell was ahead before they braked into the hairpin. So just looking at the GPS traces, so that you'd say that was critical to Piastri, but actually the combination of everything, Russell just didn't have enough. And like I said, both laps would have been given to pole. But yeah, Land Norris, third place, clearly not happy. Just saying he's not as comfortable as with the car as he was in Australia. And I asked Andrea Stella to explain that, and he said, well, it's a few things. One is that there is this fundamental issue that Norris has talked about all weekend with the car that he doesn't like, but here in particular, all of the drivers are really struggling with the tyres. The new track surface is very, very grippy, and that means that if they push ever so slightly too hard or get it ever so slightly out of shape, the temperature will spike up and the tyres will get overly stressed and they'll lose performance. And that seems to be the main thing for Lando Norris, because let's not forget he topped Q2, and I'm pretty sure he was fastest in SQ2. I was trackside at that point, but Stella made this point. Basically, if you look at his lap times in those sessions, you'd think he was going to be mighty, almost nailed on for pole position, but he wasn't able to replicate that when it mattered. And what Stella getting at, basically saying that Norris better when it was 99% performance is what he gave
yesterday,
rather than 100%. Exactly, just trying that little bit too hard. And again, it all comes down to what he's chatted about, how the car doesn't suit his driving style. He wants to attack. Ordinarily, the McLaren detests that, and really with the tyres on this track surface, it really didn't enjoy it here. So yeah, that sort of explains the top three. Fourth place, Max Verstappen. Well, he making interesting claims that Red Bull have actually got the fourth fastest car, so that would make him 7th or 8th would be the ideal result for him. So yeah, what was Max and Red Bull saying?
Yeah, I mean, I have to be really honest. It's been a long time ago that I heard Max like this negative about the pure pace of the car. We talked to him every single Grand Prix weekend in Dutch, which is usually good because he's a bit more open in Dutch than he is in the English media sessions. The exact same happened today because he was in the pen. Did the English media session, he didn't say much, but I could already see his face. So then he walked to us, only a couple of Dutch journalists here, and yeah, basically went flat out for 6 minutes. He said like, yeah, the car, it doesn't feel too bad in terms of balance, but it's just not quick enough. He feels it's not only compared to McLaren, but also Ferrari and Mercedes have passed Red Bull, which means Red Bull is the fourth fastest team at the moment. He also feels that he's kind of maybe over-delivering in a way. So he said the gap in qualifying is not the real gap. The real gap should have been bigger. And he said just take the average of both drivers from every single team. All of them are relatively close together, and obviously Max and Liam are not. So he said, yeah, we're clearly lacking pace. Then I talked to Marco earlier that day, and he said, yeah, I think if we get a podium, it would feel like a win. I put that comment to Max, and he said, well, a podium is not even realistic. So he feels that they are a long way off, and that it's kind of a miracle that he's only 2 points behind Lando now in the championship. In his opinion, it's quite alarming. We also said that you sound quite down and you sound, quite alarming towards Red Bull. And he said, yes, but it's true because we are clearly lacking pace. The Racing Bull's car is easier to drive. So yeah, he was really, really down, really. But yeah, I think, yeah, he really feels that Red Bull is the fourth car, that he usually should be on P7, but he's kind of overperforming. That's the impression he gave.
Absolutely. Well, you've covered off why Isaac Hadjar and Yuki Tsunoda are so good. The RB car, the V-Carb car being easy to drive compared to the Red Bull. But what about Liam Lawson, last in qualifying? What's the explanation for that? How does the team feel? And is he under pressure already for potentially keeping his seat in Formula 1?
Yeah, I think so, because, Liam in the pen himself said, I need more time, but I know I don't have time. So I put that comment to Helmut Marko, which is relevant because he's still the main guy when it comes to driver decisions. So I said, yeah, Liam said he needs time, but he doesn't have time. And Helmut Marko replied saying, he is right. So I think that was, yeah, it's quite a clear answer. But also coming back to Max, a really interesting note was that he said, if you put Liam in the Racing Bulls car now, he would be quicker. Because, yeah, he said the peak performance of the Red Bull might be slightly better, but the Racing Bulls cars is so much easier to handle, and you can see that if you look at Yuki, if you look at Hadjar, also if you compare the onboards with Liam. So yeah, after Australia, it's exactly what he didn't need. Helmut liked his aggression in the race, but still qualifying, clearly lacking pace. Last weekend was like this, sprint qualifying was like this, main qualifying was like this, and yeah, let's be honest, the Red Bull down in P20, we laughed about it when Checo Perez had his exit in Q1 quite often, but so far it's even worse. So yes, we have to give him time, but I feel Japan will be really important for him because then he knows the track, then there are no excuses anymore.
Okay, that's it. Day 3 at the Chinese Grand Prix. Just one left. Grand Prix tomorrow, expecting it to be a 2-stop race, starting on the mediums, all the drivers then going to both sets of the hards. They haven't run those yet, bit of a question mark there, or a conscious strategy of starting on the hards, using another set, and then going to the mediums. A 3-stopper is not ruled out, but we shall see what happens depending on how hard the tyre degradation gets. So, join us tomorrow when we'll know who's won the 2025 Chinese Grand Prix.